Hello and welcome. I'm Darren, and it's been a while. So I haven't really done any content for probably about 2 weeks now, and there's a reason. And the reason is what we are talking about today. So effectively, I kind of got quite stuck into my sim racing again, and I kind of ran through a lot of the games I was playing. I even actually purchased iRacing, or signed up for iRacing, subscribed to iRacing, should I say. And I haven't really given it much of a go. I kind of think maybe I shouldn't have, because I probably already decided that ACC is kind of, for whatever reason, it's just the game that I enjoy the most out of the racing sims. For me, it gives me the best balance of kind of what I want in a game. I think it's probably one of the nicer looking games out of the lot, and I quite enjoy the way it plays. So I'd kind of already decided what I wanted to do. So kind of a bit of background. I probably started racing on ACC about a year ago, but very kind of infrequently. It was enough that I'd decided that I wanted to buy myself like a steering wheel, pedals, that sort of setup. End up buying like a aluminium profile rig, and then I've upgraded since. So I enjoy it. But again, it's something that I do play other games in between. So at this moment in time, I have a computer on the desk which I'm using to make this content. This one I'll generally play, single player games, first person shooters, all that sort of stuff. And then I have another PC set up in another room which is connected up to my sim racing rig. So generally, when I play a lot of games, I have no issues playing games online. So I don't mind playing first-person shooters and stuff online. I'm not competitive with it. I'm not, I do it to enjoy it. I kind of prefer games, certainly like, your Call of Duties and stuff like that. I like playing those against other players rather than just playing AI. I don't remember the last time I played a single player, like a co-op. The single player version of a Call of Duty game. I'll buy Call of Duty. I'll run straight into the multiplayer maps, so on and so forth. But I'm not a huge Call of Duty Call of Duty game player, should I say? But I have no problems playing games online. But I kind of held off on ACC. Reasons for it, obviously, I wanted to learn the tracks, I wanted to learn the cars. I'd already decided through content that I've watched and by driving it myself that it would be a good idea to go through some of the cars, choose the car that I wanted to race with, choose the car that I felt worked better for me, not necessarily the fastest, but probably the idea at the time was probably the car that was the safest for me to run in. So the car that I felt I got less crashes with, basically, to be honest, and incidents. So I'd kind of done that over the past couple of months. I was kind of learning some of the tracks, trying to spend a bit more time on the tracks, racing AI, racing practice laps, just doing whatever I could. And generally I was running kind of on a track that I'd got to know. I'd run with the AI between 94 to 96. Tracks that I didn't know, I'd run them kind of more like 92 to try and follow them around, to try and obviously improve my track knowledge as such. And every now and then I ventured into a online lobby and regretted it pretty quickly. For some reason, I don't know, is it Monza? I think every single time it just happened to be Monza. First corner, game over. Absolute carnage. And if it wasn't that, you generally get someone. There was quite a few times where I'd have a car pull alongside me and then purposely turn into me and try and ram me from the track. So the problem, obviously, with that is you tend to very quickly lose your SA, so like your safety rating. And then I thought, well, if I obviously want to try and get into any of the, the servers, I'm not going to be able to do that if I keep dropping on my SA. So I looked a little bit into it. I'd seen stuff mentioned about LFM, and I thought, you know what, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe that will be a place where I can go and race and learn. Obviously, LFM Rookies, so low fuel motorsport. In the Rookies, I thought that would be maybe the best place to go. And this is probably where we're at, because this is my experience. And I'm going to be honest, it's not what I thought it was. Now, I don't know if I'll get kickback for anything I say. Obviously, I'm enjoying it. I'm not about to leave. But it's been stressful. And I'll be honest, there's times when I'm not enjoying it. Yesterday was one of those times where I honestly thought maybe just playing I actually thought I might just give up. I might just sell all this gear and just call it a day, because this is hideous. And I didn't see a way forward, because where else or what else I was going to do, I really wasn't sure. So I got into LFM, and you have to do, I think, to get your rookie license, you have to do, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think it was something like 7 consecutive laps on a certain course. At the time, I think I was on Barcelona. So 7 consecutive laps below a set time, and obviously clean laps. So I've got a feeling if you obviously run wide, or obviously if you hit someone else, there are other people on track, then obviously that lap will be invalidated and you'll have to start from scratch. So you're back to lap 1 again, and obviously you're having to do 7 clean laps. And I'm going to be honest, at the time, Barcelona is not a track that I normally run, and I actually thought, okay, I thought this would be easier, and it was a little bit more difficult than what I thought. But I think I did actually do it on my first attempt, but it was tighter than probably what I expected, and that was probably my first thinking of, okay, maybe I'm not fast enough. A little bit worrying. So anyway, I passed through it, and then I think I then went to look at obviously whatever my first races that were available. So got into LFM. Took me a while to probably figure out even how to navigate the website. Obviously set up whatever it was, my driver profile, blah 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 blah. And then looked at my first races. I think at the time, the 45 minutes, so generally, obviously, if you're not into LFM and you don't obviously realise any of this, you'll have your 2 weekly races in your GT3 class. So your 2 rookie races. One will be a sprint race, which is a 25-minute, just 25-minute race with no pit stop. I think you get something like a 12-minute qualifying or something like that for that one. And then you have your second race, which is your 45-minute race. So it's more like your main race. So it's 45 minutes, and it has a mandatory pit stop. So that was a learning curve for me. Obviously, trying to figure out how to even do pit stops, because that was something that obviously I was not used to doing. I managed to kind of figure that out. And yeah, basically, I think the first race I think I went into was like the 45-minute race on Brands Hatch, and unfortunately, the way that turned out was that actually went too well for me. So I think a lot of people, I think it was a bit chaotic. I think a lot of people ended up crashing out. I managed to just stay out of trouble. I think I purposely, at the time, had decided that I wanted to qualify, either not qualify or certainly qualify slow purposely. I wanted to stay at the back. I wasn't good on that track. So my aim was to learn, which is what I thought Rookies was. So, you know, kind of your proving ground, your learning zone, Rookies. That's kind of what I was thinking, right? So that was my plan. Be at the back or be as close to the back as possible. If anything, maybe even let the other cars through, and then just stay clean, stay out of trouble. Faster cars approaching, let them through as clean as I could, and then just, you know, pick up places. You know, obviously people will probably be crashing out, and then just take any opportunities that come, but don't try and force anything. That was my basic plan. And I think I ended up kind of starting. I think I pretty much accomplished what I hoped, and it probably went too well, because I think I started last on the grid, and I think I ended up finishing 6th or 7th or something like that. But that was not down to my pace. It was nowhere near down to my pace. That was pretty much just opportunist. I managed in that race to completely stay out of trouble. So I think I picked up almost like maximum points that I could. And that was quite rewarding at the end when I thought, oh, that's pretty good. So I picked up a load of decent points. The one thing that was, I think, when I first went into it and I first hit qualifying, that I did actually think, holy shit, this is quite daunting, were the lap times of the front runners. Now, obviously, I'd kind of have a vague idea of generally the lap times that I do. I also have, I watch a lot of content. So I watch some of, obviously, the top races on ACC, and I kind of see the alien lap times that they obviously managed to produce. And some of these lap times were as fast, if not faster, which I'm not going to lie, I thought, holy shit, okay, this is actually a little bit daunting. And I was pretty worried at first, because seeing some of those lap times at the top was pretty crazy. You know, I think even on something like Brands Hatch, I think the top runners were maybe like 4 seconds ahead of me of generally the times that I was doing a lap, which is obviously scary. But at the same time, there were cars that were 4 seconds slower a lap than what I'd be doing. So the difference in times was huge. And that's something that I didn't expect. And immediately I thought, well, hold on. Why are these people with these alien lap times in Rookies? Like, that to me kind of was my first... That was probably the first thing that I didn't expect, which kind of confused me. Now, everyone's got the right to obviously race wherever they want. So this isn't a... you know, I'm not obviously trying to throw any mud at any of the fast players. Fair play to them. And maybe some of those players are just people that have, you know, got a lot of experience in the game. They're fast in the game. And generally, they've just come into it as rookies, and they just happen to be extremely fast. Or I was kind of thinking, is this just a case of they've been naughty and they've been kicked from some of the other lobbies? I don't know. Obviously, I don't want to throw mud at people, you know, with nothing to back it up. So that's kind of, you know, it's... I'm not saying it's particularly a problem, but it wasn't expected. I kind of thought that I was going to obviously come... I honestly thought I'm going to come up against people that obviously have a lot more experience in the game, and they're going to be a lot faster than me, because I didn't obviously consider myself one of the fast racers after seeing what the streamers do. So I didn't go in there thinking, oh, I'm going to be like fast. But I didn't expect to see in Rookies the times of what the, you know, the top... I find it's generally in a lobby, like sometimes there's just like one alien racer, but I think normally a lot of the times it's like your top 4, and I see it in a lot of qualifying that they're like at least 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack, and then, you know, the pack will gradually drop on more of a gradual basis. So it's almost like there's like 4 alien racers in there, and then the rest are kind of, you can imagine, okay, so this is generally where the rookies start, and there's just like 4 pros that have just entered the room. That I didn't expect, and it was a little bit daunting, because, like I said, I was going into this with the mindset of stay clean. So I'm not over competitive, or I'm certainly not. I know my limits at the moment, and I'm certainly not competitive at this moment in time. Now, obviously, if I get to the point of what some of these top races are, maybe I'll decide that at that point I deserve to be competitive, and maybe I will push myself a little bit harder. But I came into this kind of thinking, okay, so I'm going to go into rookies, and the main game in rookies is to stay clean. So, if I see racers coming up behind me, and it's pretty damn obvious that, a couple of corners ago they weren't there and they're catching me at a serious pace, I see absolutely no point whatsoever in trying to hold those cars up. They're at a different level than me. It's lap one of 20 laps or whatever it is you're going to be doing. It seems stupid to me to hold those cars up. Now, I know obviously some people will say you've got the right to be there and it's down to them to pass you. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but that's not how I'm going into it. And I kind of thought probably a lot of the racers at the back would have the same kind of ideas. I found out that that is definitely not the case, which is, again, another thing that surprised me. Now, it doesn't go with everyone, but it goes with some of them. And that kind of ended up with me when I went into probably my second week. Now, I can't remember what track it was, but I remember getting into a race, and I remember a car in front of me doing their absolute utmost to weave across the track, force themselves in braking zones in front of me and do everything that they humanly could to stop me from passing. And it's within their right, and that's fine. But in the end, I think I ended up spinning out because obviously at the same time I was trying to avoid them, and it ended up that me trying to avoid them was harder than actually trying to stay on the track. And that's kind of the other problem I put myself into, because I then found, okay, starting at the back is now proving problematic, because starting at the back is actually not as easy as what I thought it would be. Now, I was kind of quite surprised at how people, for the first week, I found a lot of the races I was in, people tend to really respect the first lap, which I thought, well, this is actually really good. Like, no one's obviously trying to win the race from mid-pack or from the back in the first lap. And generally people kind of formed relatively, which I was quite surprised, a bit of an orderly queue. And, got your first lap under your belt, got a bit of pressure in the tyres, got a bit temps in the tyres, got a bit temps in the brakes, and then kind of, the race would then start to open up, kind of how it does when you're racing AI in ACC. That's not coming into my third week. That seems to have gone completely out the window. And the last couple of races I've done have been a complete nightmare. But probably the biggest issue that I've found with ACC so far, or should I say with LFM Rookies, and this was something that I wasn't, which is kind of, it wasn't how I would expect the rookies to work, because as I said, I thought that I'd go into rookies and it would be my learning ground, and I kind of thought that, and maybe it does, I don't know, I've just been involved in a conversation on Facebook, by the sound of my phone, this guy might have, I'm not going to obviously check the message now. Obviously, my reply was, okay, I just got involved in a conversation on Facebook, and there was a guy that was basically saying the same thing as me of, okay, how do I drive LFM Rookies? Because it is a complete and utter destruction derby. I wasn't expecting this. And in the last 2 weeks, I feel exactly the same. And the reply to this guy was, don't qualify, sit at the back, stay clean, do not worry about trying to gain any positions, just race the game and stay as clean as you can. To which I replied, okay, now my issue with that is the fact that I have dropped so much ELO. I believe it's ELO or ELO, if that's how you, whatever you want to call it, like points. So these are obviously, from what I can see, these are your rating points. So you get a safety rating, and then you get this ELO rating. And obviously, safety rating, obvious. ELO rating is almost like your, I don't know really how I'd describe it. It's like how competent you are at racing. And mine is dropping like a bum. Like, it is incredible how it's gone down. Now, obviously, when I first started, it kind of went up a little bit. And I kind of looked at the score and I thought, okay, my driving, competency is raising, and my safety rating is raising because I stayed clean. Awesome. But now I've noticed badly, and this is where I'm starting to find this unbelievably frustrating, is how punished you are for other people that don't give a toss. And what I will say is, you will get involved in accidents with people that are absolutely not to blame, but at the same time, you're not to blame either. So they've just made a mistake and you've got caught up in it. And I have absolutely no issue with that. But you will come across drivers that will purposely, and I mean purposely, they're doing it, and it's a fact. They will do their best. And I think it's generally a lot of the faster cars, because I always get in this situation in the first lap. And what happens in the first lap is, some of the cars that are fighting for position at the front of the track, if you're at the back, they tend to tangle with each other in the first lap. I've noticed this in the last probably 6 or 7 races that I've just done. And it's like, this has literally happened in 4 of them, to the point of I nearly quit. And I'm pretty sure it's these guys that are coming from the front. So as you make your way around your first lap, there are cars flying off everywhere. Now, some of those are just obviously some of the lesser experienced cars in front of you. That's fine. But you will come across an accident, and it will be some of the front runners. Now, those front runners, from what they're concerned, are so fucking entitled to get back to the front that they don't give a fuck. From what they're concerned, whoever they were just fighting with took them off. This is how I read it. It's taken them off, and now they want to get back to where they are. And they have no care for the other cars that are now in between them. So they almost expect that they've been knocked off, and they want the rest of the field to stop and wait for them to get back through. And I know that there are cars like this, because on the first lap, I've had people behind me flashing like fuck in my rearview mirror with their fucking lights, telling me that they demand for me to fucking move over for them. And that I find offensive, because I would move over for them. But when they start doing that, I'm like, I tell you what, asshole, maybe I fucking won't. Because that, I don't get. It's like, mate, it's not my fault, you just got knocked off. Now, if I've qualified in like 14th or 15th, now you want me to give up every fucking place and put myself to the back, or probably get shunted in the ass because I've literally decided that I'm going to stop to let you through because you're so fucking empowered that you believe you've just been knocked off from 4th place and you demand to get back there as fast as you can. I'm sorry, but that's just not the way that the game works, and it's not the game should work. And unfortunately, I've now found in the last certainly in the last 3 races I've done, I've been happily driving away in like 5th or 6th position to have a car obviously catch me up, because they are the faster cars, catch me up and purposely in the braking zone push me off. And I know they're doing it purposely because they're weaving behind me, literally touching my back bumper up until a braking zone. So I end up almost having to try and brake later than what I actually want to brake later, because I know that they're literally touching the back of my car. Now, if I'm in a situation where obviously I'm driving up a car behind a car that I know is slower than me, because clearly I've been catching it up, then I'm always leading up to the corner, I'm off the gas. I'm coasting that little bit early, and I'm ready to be on that brake faster than what I would normally, sooner than what I'd normally be braking, because I'm anticipating that clearly they're slower. And the reason that they're slower is probably all down to where they're braking, because the cars are all as fast as each other, or, technically to a degree. So it's not like these cars have a huge power advantage. It's generally, if you want to be fast in racing, you're generally doing it in your brakes. So I know that obviously I don't have the best braking in the game, because if I did, I'd be one of the fastest drivers. So I anticipate other people, and I'd expect them to anticipate me. But unfortunately, I don't find it so much a problem with the slower cars. I find I generally get hit from behind, and I find it in a purposeful way. Because whatever they do, they're gold. They manage to just give you that little bit of a nudge that sends you flying off the fucking track, and they're on their way. And unfortunately, the penalty goes to you. And that's where I've got so frustrated. It's unbelievable, because I've had it happen 3 times where I've been at kind of 6th or 7th position by the end of the first lap, to be nudged off in a high speed, either braking zone or cornering zone. And it's not just from behind. I've had cars pull up alongside me and purposely turn into me for absolutely no reason, and put you off in a high speed zone where you end up literally crawling. Like, at that point, you're last, because trying to get back on the track when the pack is so tight in the first lap, you're generally at this point, without hitting other cars, you're sat at the side of the track. So you then have to let everyone go past, and then crawl around in your fucking now 3-wheeler GT3 car to the pits to do a 2-minute repair in the pits, come out at least 1 lap down, and you get the worst points deduction for someone else hitting you. And that, it's absolutely driven me insane, to the point of last night, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore, because this now isn't fun. This isn't enjoyable. This is actually shit. And I know some people will disagree, and that's totally fine, because we're all different and we all see things in different ways. But I mean, I've got videos of it, and I've watched it back, and I'm like, no, that guy's an asshole. Like, seriously, why did he just do that? And I will take responsibility for stuff I've done, but I will pretty much guarantee that if I've been involved in 25 accidents in the last 3 weeks, I would probably take responsibility for 3 of those. That's how bad it is. But I take the penalty just as much. The penalty shared between you and the other car. And that's the annoying thing. And the annoying thing for that is the ACC has a pretty good radar system. So from what I'm concerned, unless you're moving across braking zones, or you're actually being a blocking idiot on purpose, which I'm generally not. Because that's the other thing. I mean, let's face it, if you're not the best driver in the world, which, oh, he's still getting muzzies in November. If you're not the fastest person in the world, which I'm not, then effectively you're definitely not a very good person when you're off the racing line. So, obviously, if I can't be in a situation where I just disappear because it suits someone else if I just disappear. And getting off the racing line isn't always the easiest thing. Letting someone overtake without then losing all of the time that I've just spent trying to pull away from the cars that I'm racing with. Because, again, I'm new to it. And probably I'm sure I'm not the only person in this, and I know I'm not, because I know how I affect other racers. And I've been in this situation with so many racers at the moment where when someone is behind me and I know that they're kind of competitive, I know they're racing within my times, but I know I'm starting to lose time because rather than concentrate on what's ahead of me, I'm starting to watch them in my rearview mirror. And that's when things start to go to shit. Now, a lot of the time, I will almost get to the point of, right, I'm like, this is going wrong now. I'm going to start losing more places and I'm going to start losing time to a pack that's further behind us if I just keep staring at this person in my rearview mirror. So sometimes I'll just be like, okay, we're quite competitive, but I'm just going to let you through because this is actually going to end up screwing both of our races. Within 2 laps, they have become the person that's a complete mess because now I'm the person that's in their rearview mirror and they're suddenly, and so I know this happens. So rearview mirror, certainly for people that are obviously a little bit newer to it, rearview driving is not good. So, that's the problem that you have with obviously some of these other racers, and they know what they're doing. But like I was saying, obviously ACC has a good radar system, so it knows, or it should be able to. You'd hope, and I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm not saying it's the developers' fault or anything like that. It is what it is. Maybe it's just one of those things that they don't have the way of dealing with it. But you should, I would have thought that they would be able to calculate by the radar system what impact has been between 2 cars and maybe who would be at fault with those cars. Now, maybe you could appeal after if it was a case of, no, look, I'm not taking responsibility for this because this guy did this. And then obviously you've got replays and you can prove it, and that's fine. But you would have thought that generally, if you don't want the hassle of all that, trying to message people to argue about some points you've lost, then I would have thought that the radar system would probably be able to pick it up, but it clearly doesn't. So I ended up pretty much 3 races where I was at I was ahead of 10th position. So I think one I was 6th, the other one I was 8th. No, I think the third one I was 11th. And 3 of those races, I had the same outcome. And it was 3 races in a row. And I was, from what I was concerned, deliberately knocked off by a person that felt entitled to the fact they'd lost their position and they wanted, or they thought that they deserved to be back in front by the end of the first lap. And that they would effectively drive through me. And I ended up in the pits with a 2-minute repair needed doing to the car after the first lap, and last place. Awesome. But not only that, the extra kick in the teeth is you then get the maximum points deduction that you can get for it. So your ELO, you can get because you're the last person, if you finish last, you'll get the maximum amount of ELO deduction going. And then obviously you share the damage points between the person that hit you. So talk about kick in the teeth. It's I thought I was coming here to improve my racing, and unfortunately I'm being penalised whilst I'm doing my best to stay out of trouble. So I now have mixed feelings about it. Now tonight I've done a couple of races. The first one went to shit. Now I actually took responsibility for it. But for the first time, when I went back to see just how bad my penalty points deduction was going to be, I had a message from the driver. Now, obviously, this week is Mount Panorama, which is the sprint race. Mount Panorama, first lap, cold tyres. Oh my God, nightmare. Once I'm into the swing of it, and once I've got some tyre temperatures, I can get through it all right. But in the first 2 laps, if I have someone pushing me to the point of I can't brake where I want to brake because they are going to hit the back of me, things go wrong. And the 2 races I've done on it tonight went wrong for those well, no, the first one was my fault. So you've got like you go up the hill, you've got the twisty kind of corners coming down, and the final corner, I think it's like with the Bentley signs on it, so the final corner coming down onto the back straight. We came through there, I don't know what I was in, I think I was like 6th or something like that, and the car in front of me, and it was a bit of a nightmare because it happened right at the time where I had to put the gas on, because I had cars touching my back bumper. So as soon as I came out of that bottom corner, the exact moment I went to put the gas on, the car in front of me caught the wall and it stopped him dead. So I hit it straight into... Luckily it wasn't high speed, so I don't think I caused him actually that much damage, and he just drove off. Because obviously that's, a sharp, slow corner. It is downhill, obviously. But it was just... I didn't have time to pick up any speed. It was just one of those things, and I took responsibility for it. Unfortunately for me, it spun my car and it left me facing up the hill on that corner. Luckily at the side of the track, so all the rest of the field managed to get through, so 6th to last. But I managed to get quite a lot of damage from it. And then actually, with a GT3 star wheel, trying to fucking 3-point turn when you're facing the wrong way in the narrowest road, I just picked up more damage. So that race was completely screwed. But surprisingly, when I got back to see how bad it was going to be, I think I still picked up a couple of places. So I think I ended up something like 18th or something like that. But that was purely... I was like a lap down, like instantly on the first lap. Nightmare. But when I got back, I actually had a message. The first time I had a message in my inbox saying, I'm really sorry about that. To which obviously I'm like, dude, it's not your fault. I should have anticipated it. Unfortunately, I hit the brakes as hard as I could. But obviously I'm watching my rear view at the same time because I've got cars that are so close to hitting the back of me. So it's just one of those. It's a nightmare, but it's still, from what I was concerned, my responsibility. I was the car behind. He was the car in front. I need to be ready to anticipate other cars. I was just too close, and it just happened to be. I thought if he was going to touch the wall, I thought he'd just glance it and bounce off it. It stopped him dead, which I don't think he anticipated, and I certainly doesn't anticipate. Now, whether he obviously felt he was going to hit it and he hit the brakes, I don't know. But I've never seen someone glance a wall like that and it stopped them dead. So I don't know. It is what it is. But he apologised, and I'm like, dude, it's not your problem, honestly. Like, it's cool. It is what it is. So I was pretty pissed at the time, but, the fact that he even, attempted to apologise to me, I'm like, it's just one of those things now. I feel happier about it because, he's actually, attempted to apologise, and now I feel bad because he really didn't need to. So I kind of didn't feel so bad after that, and then I went into the second race, and the second race was my fault again. Now, I decided that I was going to actually qualify, so I qualified. I think I qualified 8th, and a couple of cars went off ahead of me. I think I was in something like 6th. And one of the cars that went off ahead of me tried to pull in and alongside me. He obviously didn't want to give up the place. I think he already tried forcing me over at one point, and I'm like, there is nothing I can do. I've got cars that are touching the back of me, and I can't just stop to give you your place back that you've just lost, because they're all just going to drive into the back of me. So he then followed me down into, and this is obviously first lap, so cold tyres. He then followed me down into very similar place, just a little bit further up. So the back corners, the bus stop. He followed me into there, and with cold tyres, I have to downshift and brake a bit earlier until I've obviously got warmer tyres. If not, the back, I'm driving in the M4. The back will it bounces and it just goes to shit. So I was watching him. I was concerned about what he was doing. And I ended up braking a bit late, lost the back, smashed into the wall. I held the brakes, and he was fine. Somehow, I don't know how, he managed to drive around it. I think another car got caught up in me. I think that was about it. So it wasn't that bad. Obviously, I slowed a lot of cars down. They had to pretty much drive around me. There was nothing I could do. I just had to hold the brakes and hope that they didn't obviously crash. So it is what it is. I ended up, obviously at that point, I had to go back to the pits because my car was mullered. I was last. Luckily, I don't think I ended up a lap down, so I don't know what else had gone on in the lap that had gone on after. But I don't think I lost a lap. And in the end, I managed to claw some places back, and I think I ended up finishing about 11th, something like that. So I actually did gain some points in that. I don't think I lost any safety, and I actually managed to gain back something like 20 elo points. Not, nothing amazing, but at least I didn't lose. But yeah, that's kind of... This video's gone on a lot longer than what I expected, but I probably had a lot to rant about. But I don't know. I've got mixed feelings at the moment. It's been a lot rougher than what I thought. It's not kind of what I expected that I was going into to what I've ended up going into. It's not what I expected. I thought that it'd be a good place to go and learn, and you'd be kind of around people of the same feeling. And at the moment, I'm sure there are a lot of people in there that are like that, but I'm actually surprised at how many aren't like that. There's a lot of people that seem to me that they're still racing in the online lobbies, and I was surprised at that. And like I said, there's a lot of people in there that are just really fast, and it's like, dude, if you're so fucking entitled that you think because you're like, it's like, well, I don't, it's not like I keep a mental record of the cars that qualified in first and second, and that they're a second a lap faster than everyone else. And as soon as I see one of those come up, I'll just fucking go and park on the gravel just so that they can get past. Do you know what I mean? So when those cars go off, and you end up driving past like 5 or 6 cars that are scattered around the edge of the track, I didn't keep a mental record of which car qualified first, just so I know that when they come up behind me, I should, leave the track and roll out a red carpet for them to drive through. That's what I found really irritating. And like I said, the penalty system, the penalties that I have taken through being, from what I'm concerned, deliberately driven off the track. I found that a really tough pill to swallow. I'm not ready to give up yet, but I don't think it will take much more to push me over the edge. And then I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I will have to go to iRacing. I don't know. Be a shame because I do enjoy ACC. Like I said, graphically, I am a bit of a graphics person, and as far as it goes, playing at it at a high resolution with the graphics turned up, I do actually really like ACC. So I don't know. I did try iRacing. It's a bit of an uglier game. I'm sure it's a good game, and maybe just because of the way that iRacing with the subscription, I don't know how they police their kind of penalties that get dished out, or whatever, however it works in iRacing. I don't know, but maybe, I don't know, maybe that will turn out to be the better option. But we'll wait and see, and I'll keep you updated. I'm not going to go on any longer because this is like 45 minutes of me ranting. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know in the comments. Am I wrong? Am I being dumb? Or Are you in the same situation and you're kind of feeling the same? Let me know. I don't think there's anything that can be done about it. I think it's just one of those things. Maybe I just have to completely ignore my point scores, or my player ratings, or however you want to call it, my elo. Or maybe I just need to turn into someone that just doesn't give a shit like some of the other racers. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be like that, and that's the problem. I don't know. I'll see how it goes. I'll keep it updated. And if you watched up until now, I appreciate that. Maybe give me a like, and I'll catch you in the next one.